Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the AutoGrade podcast. Today, I have the blessing and the pleasure of having here Emily Guerra. And today is going to be an interesting episode that I think all of you are going to like. So please take out your notebooks or anything that you use to write on. So there's going to be a lot of things that you can learn from this podcast, I'm sure. And Emily, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, well, firstly, Daniel, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here and to chat with all of you. My name's Emily. I am a mindful productivity coach and the founder of the Productivity Flow. So I am all about helping people improve their work from home work life balance by creating the systems and the mindset needed to feel true success and whatever that looks like for you. So that is what I am all about. I do coaching, I do speaking. I have a blog with some resources, and I'm in a community as well.
That's amazing. I'm here doing my podcast. It's not an easy thing to do, and I guess you have a lot of work to do. But going that with your mission, was there a
Yeah.
time like where you felt that you were at rock bottom, that you didn't see the light of day?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if we're being truthful here, probably a handful of times where I was like, I don't know how I'm getting out of this. I don't know how I'm moving forward. I have no idea what my future looks like. And so really there's kind of two times that speak to me that really like are the moments where I feel like if I didn't make changes, I wasn't going to move forward in any way. So the first time was truly during COVID, actually. I unfortunately lost both of the jobs that I had at the start of COVID. And within a couple of months, I realized I could not afford rent anymore. I had no idea what I was going to do with my career because at the time I was actually a wedding planner. And so with COVID happening, weddings and events were not. And I was truly like, there's no future here. Like, what the heck am I going to do? I ended up moving in with family across the country just to try to like figure my life out and give myself some time. And eventually, over the course of about 9 months, I eventually figured it out. But it took a lot of number one, sulking at first for feeling like I was in my rock bottom, but then also micro changes. I like to call them 1% changes. Like, what's my 1% today? And just focusing on like what I could do each day to move out of it slowly. I feel like that was the only way that I actually got out of that rock bottom of really not knowing what my life was going to be about, what I wanted to do, all the things. So that's like the big moment for me that like, oh, when I think about that, I'm like, yep, that sucked.
I guess a lot of people during COVID that went through hardships. Like for
Yeah.
me, COVID, when I go back to it, it wasn't really that bad for me. You
Oh,
know,
must be nice.
I was in the middle of high school,
Ah,
and
yeah.
then classes get canceled out. So it's like
So
pretty
you were
happy
like,
times.
yay.
They told us you got 2 weeks off, and then it wasn't 2 weeks, in just months and years.
Yeah.
But I guess it was something that you had to go through for you to realize, hey, I have to move on. No, I'm no longer a wedding
Yeah.
planner. And I wanted to ask you about that 1%. Can you please talk
Totally.
to us more about the 1%?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that you said that though, of like, I got to kind of change my identity almost. Like, I'm not a wedding planner anymore, right? And kind of like coming to acceptance with that a little bit. And after the acceptance, then figuring out the path forward, right? So, really, during this time when I was like, what the heck am I going to do with my life? I and started actually just working for myself because it was COVID. I'm like, I need to make money. I'm not getting any job opportunities. Like, let me see what it's like working for myself. And through that, I kind of became a little bit obsessed with like, well, how do I work from home? What does it mean to work from home? How can I do this in a way that's more productive, that is not only productive, but also gives me a little bit of balance? Because when you work from home, there can be no sense of balance sometimes. And so it was really this period that I started just reading a lot. And one book that I'm sure everybody has read that really stuck with me was Atomic Habits. And it's by James Clear. And one of James Clear's philosophies is kind of this 1% mentality, right? Like the whole reason the book is called Atomic Habits is because you need to make your habits tiny, like an atom, right? So like trying to shrink it, make it smaller, just focus on the 1% for today. And that really stuck with me when I read that during this phase of my life. And so I kind of became obsessed with like, okay, well, what's my 1% today? Right? Like, how can I make sure that maybe the big goal feels really too big for me right now, but this tiny action step, that doesn't feel too big for me right now. So I can just focus on this tiny action step and then another one tomorrow and then another one the day after. And if I keep just hitting 1% each and every day, I'll eventually get to 100. But if I focus on trying to get from 0 to 100 real quick and focus so much on the goal, but not the process, not the journey, I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to burn myself out. I'm going to fall into a fixed mindset, and I'm going to self-doubt and like feel like it's on me and I should be able to do this, but I can't, so I'm failing. When in reality, that's just not how our brain is wired. That's not how we work, right? We have to really learn how to work with ourselves. And so reading Atomic Habits by James Clear was kind of the first time that opened my eyes to this process of really just taking it baby steps, little bit at a time. And it changed my life.
Actually, I haven't read Atomic Habits.
Really, I highly suggest it. I love that
I'm
book.
looking forward to it.
Oh my
It's
God,
a book that I want to read,
it's
but
such a
like
good book.
people, yeah, I guess people have it. Like my friends have it, and it's like I haven't read it. I have read like I'm not much of a reader. I'm getting
Fair.
better at it, right? But my friends have it, and I was like, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna talk to them. I'm gonna grab their book and I just rent it
Do
for a
it.
little while so that I can read it. But you're right. We are often so focused on trying to get to the goal so fast that
Yes,
we're tired. For example, I'm gonna put my fitness geekness right now. But if you go to the gym and you say I'm gonna do a full-on diet from the get-go, what is the probability that you're gonna last the full thing, and it's gonna become your new normal? Impossible,
totally.
impossible. Because you're gonna remove all the sweets and everything, but you're gonna feel so into you're losing your mind,
Yes,
right? Because you want that treat or something, right? But you haven't allowed yourself to go from one step into another, right?
exactly.
Each one of us has a body weight and calories that you can eat in a day,
hmm
right? But if you go from I don't know from 3,000 calories that you eat in a day to 2,200, that is if you want to die, right? And 200 is not enough for me. I like to eat, but if you go from that length in a snap, you're not gonna do it. It's not gonna last long.
Facts. Truly.
And for example, me reading, I started reading the Bible. That's the book that opened my eyes for me in my journey. I said I'm gonna read 2 chapters a day
Okay.
before I go to bed or when I wake up or anytime during the day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read 2 chapters, and once I read that 2 chapters, if I go forward, it's okay. I can go more, but no less. And if there was time that I no less, I read at least one.
There you go.
But I kept reading and reading and reading. It's that making that habit of like going at it each day. I'm doing a challenge right now with one of my friends. We're doing 100 push-ups a day, and he
Nice.
goes, once keep it going. It becomes a habit. It's like something
Exactly.
that you cannot miss on. Once you go to the gym and you get to like it, when you don't go, you're like, I'm missing a part of my day. It's like
Yeah.
I'm missing a part of me. And the same thing goes
Yeah.
for our habits. Like for you was saying, okay, I have to do this 1% so that I can improve my work and life balance being at home. I
hmm
had to do this once a day, and it became normal. It became your routine.
I love what you're saying. Yes.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead
Well,
with what.
I just feel like everything that you're describing, I feel like if we boil it down, it comes down to consistency, right? Because ultimately, that's kind of what you're talking about here is how do we build consistency? And consistency is really hard to build for new things, whether it's a new habit, a new goal, a new project, a new job, a new anything. Starting and consistency, those are always the two hurdles that pretty much everyone really feels, right? And I feel like shrinking it down into what's actually doable for me today. Like let's say it is maybe our goal is 100 push-ups, right? But in reality, we've only been doing like 20. Okay, great. Then let's make 20 push-ups consistent for 1 week, right? And then the next week, let's make it 30, right? And then the week after that, let's make it 40. So that way you're still pushing yourself forward and you're doing the toughest part, building that consistency of the habit. Because ultimately, without consistency, you just go backwards. You revert, right? Because then you fall into the old habits, you fall into your old ways, your old patterns, your old ways of thinking. It's really that consistency and making it easy to be consistent. That is how you do new habits, new goals, and ultimately push yourself out of that feeling of rock bottom, right? Because you can't go from feeling like you're at your very lowest to like jumping at your highest. That's not going to happen. But what can happen is that you feel 1% better tomorrow, right? And so just thinking about it in that way, like how can I maybe not focus so much on the end result, but focus on the consistency that'll get me there, right?
No, yeah, 100%. I agree totally with it. But you have to actually, you have to push more than just the 20 push-ups in a day.
Mm.
That's when you get you're truly moving up.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't go just for the 20, you have to
Yep.
go for
You do have to,
25.
yeah, you got to push yourself a little bit, right? Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. In the gym, they tell you you have to go for failure.
Yeah.
Because if you put your mind just to do 12 reps, for example, and you don't go more, you're not pushing yourself to the limits. And your limits are going to improve each time you go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only just putting your mind to set up a goal that you know that 20 push-ups instead of 100. And I agree completely with that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also a point that you have to go to say, I have to push more than just 20. And it's in that you make the greatest amount of growth.
Yep.
It's in that part,
Add it.
not in the part that you said, the 20.
Yeah, you gotta add that like, in order to really get from 1% to 2% to 3%, you gotta keep adding those percentages, right? You can't just keep it at the 1%. Otherwise, you will always stay there. It's how can I add 1% today to my 1% yesterday, right? That's kinda how I think about it, and, like, that's exactly really what you're saying. And, like, let's also, like, I love what you were saying earlier, like, you wanna read more. Something that I have done in the past that has really helped me get into a reading habit is literally just 1 page a day. If I could just do 1 page a day, I'll eventually, like, after 1 or 2 days, I naturally wanna do more pages. But getting started is typically the biggest hurdle that we all feel because we feel like we have to read a full chapter or feel like we have to do this. Oh, but that takes 15 minutes. I don't have 15 minutes in my day because I'm so busy and I have this going on and da da da. And then we get into all the excuses. Whereas 1 page, it's probably a minute, 2 minutes, doesn't actually take you that long. You know you can actually do that, right? So you read that 1 page, and when that page is over, you're like, "Wait, that was it? I can do more." Like, "Huh, okay. Like, this is easier than I thought." And then you build from there, right? Because I think ultimately, especially when you're starting, it really is about like, "Okay, what's my 1% today?" And then once you've gotten started, it's really about adding on to that, I think.
No, you're right. And the bigger hurdle, like you said, is getting started. People want to go ahead and go full in, but that's not going to
Totally.
work.
I've been there. I've done that. And then I always ended up back right where I started.
And people make a lot of excuses. And that's what,
Mm.
when you were talking about, I was thinking, right? People say, I don't have enough time.
That's the number one thing I hear as a productivity coach.
If I tell you that if you sleep 8 hours,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't sleep 8 hours, and they should, right? They don't sleep. Let's say you sleep 8 hours. You have 16 hours left. If you go to work and you work 9 to 5, sorry, and that's 8 hours, you
Mhm.
have eight left. Eight left that you can use to go to the gym. And you don't have to go to the gym. I tell people, you don't have to actually go and lift weights. You have your own body weight that you can carry, right? But people put their mind into saying, I don't want to make that because they think they're pushing themselves into something that they don't think they need. They don't actually want to do. But at first, you have to do something that you don't like for your benefit.
Yeah.
It's making that sacrifice today for a
And something that I always tell my coaching clients too is like, if it feels like a sacrifice, what can you do to make it feel less like a sacrifice, right? So, like working out, let's stick with that example. Something that I personally do that really helps me actually want to work out, which is a rare. I don't love to I work out 5 days a week. I'm just going to say that. And the only reason that I got to work Oh, thank you. Thank you. But the only reason I ever got to work out 5 days a week is because I save my favorite podcasts, my favorite audiobooks, and TV episodes that I'm looking forward to. I am only allowed to consume those pieces of media when I'm working out. If I'm not working out, I can't listen to that podcast. If I'm not working out, I can't catch up in my show. If I'm not working out, I can't listen to that book. And so I've saved my favorite pieces of content for the thing that I struggle the most with, right? Building consistency at the gym. And so when I merge something I love with something that I feel like is a sacrifice, suddenly the thing that feels like a sacrifice is not as hard anymore. And I'm kind of don't even focus on the workout anymore. I just focus on like what I'm listening to now. So I will push myself harder. And then like after a couple minutes, I'm like, oh my God, my arms are like so sore. Like, wow, I just did that for much longer than I meant to. Like, damn, because I was listening to my show and I was so caught up in that. So there are ways I think to kind of ease that sense of sacrifice if we can just get a little bit more creative, right? And if we actually do a little bit more reflection too, like what is it that I need that will empower me, that will make this more fun? Ultimately, why do something if we can't add a little pizzazz to it, right? Maybe you can play some music. Maybe you can make it a dance party. Like something I do when I do my dishes, which I hate doing dishes, but I'll always throw on some music. So then I'm like dancing as I'm doing my dishes. Like it makes it a little bit more fun and goofy and like, right? Add a little fun to it. Oh, I love it. My family always has music on. We are just such music people. So it like brings me joy, right? So it's really figuring out how can I shrink it, make it a little push, not a drastic push, but just a little push? And how can I make it more fun? How can I bring something that I love into it, right? Those two things. And honestly, I learned both of those things really from Atomic Habits, from James Clear. Not just his book, but also I've signed up to his email newsletter, and he sends out this awesome newsletter every week that I love to read. And it's just more insights basically from his research and all the good things that he does. So some good stuff to sign up for, honestly. Well, there might be an audiobook that you can start taking to the gym with you, so there you go. I'm pretty sure. Not motivated. Fair. Fair. See? Yeah, in one ear and out the other. No? Well, what do you use, if you don't mind me asking? Is it kinda like willpower, motivation, discipline? What would you describe is like your willpower? You That is impressive. Willpower is very hard, honestly, to like use as kind of the sole reason for doing something. I think willpower, yes, it comes naturally, but it also fades really quickly because so many people are just so overwhelmed with life, right? And like it really also depends on your phase of life, also, I think. Like if we look at, I know for myself, I am in a phase where I actually do not have kids right now. So I have a lot more time. I have a lot more energy, right? I look at my older brother, he has 3 kids. He does not have nearly as much extra time as I do, right? And so he's in a completely different phase of life than I am. And whatever I need to kind of push myself towards goals is going to be super different for what I need when I do have kids. And so kind of just like understanding that there's also these different phases of life and you figuring out what you can use to push yourself in each one of those phases is really key because it's never going to be the same for your entire life. So willpower may work when you have the capacity, right? When you have that motivation, when you have the time, the energy, all the things. But when you really start to feel like getting up is a challenge, like making breakfast is a challenge, like when your day to day life feels heavy and hard, willpower just doesn't come. It really doesn't because you're trying to just survive, right? Not thrive. And those are honestly, those are the people that I love coaching because it's all about the little things, the 1% things, and figuring out how we can weave those little things in throughout the day to increase your motivation, to increase your willpower. And this is actually a reason why I love learning about the brain, how the brain works, what our brain needs to boost motivation, to boost willpower, discipline, all these things, right? And kind of using these different productivity hacks and tools to learn how to work with ourselves instead of against ourselves, because that looks different for everybody. You know, what works for me is not going to be the same as for you and not the same as for your listeners. And so it really is a practice of figuring out what that looks like for you in this current phase. And then evolving as you go. Okay. Love it. Mm. So cool. I do, yeah. Those are intense. Oh my gosh. I'm impressed. Yeah. Don't do that. I totally hear what you're saying. See, that's what I think you just touched on right there. And I think in those moments when, like, it feels really hard, but you have an intrinsic reason for doing it, a result that you're going to, a goal that you're trying to hit, like an Ironman, or the feeling of a clean kitchen and not waking up to dirty, gross food in the sink that's stuck to dishes and not having to deal with that, right? Like there's, there has to be a little bit of a focus on what do I get? Right? What's in it for me? And that's a question that I always tell my coaching clients to ask themselves. What's in it for me? Right? Especially in those moments when, like, oh my God, I do not want to do another rep right now. I can't even imagine answering one more email. Like, oh my God, I have to do another meeting today. Are you kidding me? Like, in those moments, that's when you have to be like, but I'm getting paid for this. But this is an actual really good opportunity for me. But like the right. So like kind of focusing on what's the but here? What's in it for me? Focus on that. Don't focus on the actual thing that you have to do sometimes. Sometimes you got to find that intrinsic motivation of why this even matters to you. And that in the moment can definitely enable that kind of momentary willpower that you need to just do it. Right? You know what is so funny? I love the Nike slogan, just do it. And the reason I love it is because that word just, it really highlights the hesitation that we feel, right? Especially like in terms of workout. I know I feel it a lot of mornings. Like, oh, this bed is so warm and cozy. I can't believe I have to go get up and then go sweat. Like, oh my God, it's so cold and dark outside. Like, that's the hesitation. And then me actually getting out of bed, that's just doing it. Right. And so that just moment, that's where the willpower happens. That's where the willpower and the intrinsic motivation, that momentary right there, That's where you have to focus on the benefit, on what you're getting in return. And then if you can shrink it a little bit and decrease the hesitation and build up the consistency and kind of combine all of the things that we've been talking about in this episode today, then you'll make it so much easier on yourself, right? So it's always a little bit of a mixture of hacks that I think work the best. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Even through the doubt and the fear. I love that you use those words because I feel like those words are really what we feel in the moment that sometimes we just can't necessarily name, but it's that hesitation that we're feeling. That's typically the doubt and the fear, right? And so just kind of getting started and going through that. And you know what's so interesting is when we actually think about it, that doubt and that fear, it really only lasts like 3 minutes, right? Until we actually get started on something. Okay, well, treadmill is fair. But in, like, the grand scheme of things, getting started, it's like a short time frame, right? So you gotta be uncomfortable for maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Once you get into it, you actually kinda lose that sense of uncomfortability, and you gain a sense of pride because you're like, "Oh, look at me go. I'm doing it," right? And, like, that is then what your brain starts to focus on because you get dopamine, you get science kicks in your brain at that point. And I think it was really myself, honestly, but more it was my frustration with where I was at. I was at a point where I'm like, I can't believe I'm living with family again. I can't believe I am like, I feel like I'm reverting when I've just worked so hard to move forward. And I can't believe I'm reverting again. And I got really kind of fed up with feeling sorry for myself, with all the pity parties that I was having for myself. And I really wanted to then get focused on how can I get out of the situation, right? Like it's time for me to move on and move upward. What can I do to do that? And so I think it was truly like my own sense of needing more that is the real reason why I got started on like focusing so hard on my 1% movements every single day, right? And then it was like once I started building up a freelance business and actually had a handful of clientele at the time. And I saw all of these entrepreneurs that I was working with, and I realized that nobody really had work life balance. Everybody was kind of struggling with a lot of the same things that I was struggling with in terms of working from home, having time for a life, and like feeling like we're actually moving forward on the things that matter. And so then it was like, wait, if I can figure this out for myself, maybe I can help other people figure it out for them too. And so that's really where the idea of creating the productivity flow and becoming a productivity coach with like a focus on working from home and balance really stemmed from. It honestly stemmed from me hitting rock bottom and figuring out how to move out of that, right? So it was a little bit of a combination of like myself, but then also seeing it in so many other people and realizing like this is a universal problem that it's not just me. I'm not alone in this. And so how can I use myself as the example, as the experiment almost, and then enable other people to do the same? Yeah. None. Yeah. Totally. Mhm. Exactly. I love that. I might steal that. That's awesome. That's a great statement. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. That's the Yep. Oh, see, that is a tough mindset shift, especially when you're in the thick of it, right? Because I just look at myself back when, like, it was first all happening. I was deep in the negative, and so was my mindset. I could, like, not find any positives in my situation at all, right? And it wasn't really until I started taking some action that then enabled me to see, yeah, this sucks, don't get me wrong, but look at what I'm learning. Oh, wait, this is actually maybe I don't need to be a wedding planner. Maybe there is like a different path for me. Like, huh. And like now that I'm looking back, like without COVID, I would not be talking to you today. I would not have my business. I would probably still be doing weddings, honestly. Like this never would have happened. Right. So it's always hindsight's always 2020, right? The challenge is noticing it in the moment and realizing like, okay, yes, this is a lot of negativity right now. What am I going to learn? Right? What is hiding underneath that I'm just maybe not looking at? What do I need to expand my vision into? Right? And just kind of asking those reflection questions can really do wonders for your mindset. And I firmly believe that mindset is the start of all things, right? We get what we think. And so if we got to think positively even in those negative moments, not in a toxic way of course, in an empowering way, then we'll start to empower ourselves. That's a great question that I wish I could answer. I was not a math person in school. That was always my lowest grade. Well, good. I knew that. I love that, actually. Yes. You're right. It counters. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, look at you. Yeah. Yeah. You know yeah. As you were talking, you honestly kind of reminded me of my aunt. So, my aunt, she recovered from breast cancer a couple years ago. And then recently, she got another cancer diagnosis. And you would think that her immediate reaction would be like, oh my God, not again. I can't believe I have to go through this. Like, my body hates me, just all this negativity. But instead, her reaction was so empowering. It was like, "Well, I've done this before. my body healed, my mind healed. I can do this again, and I will. And within a couple of months, she's now in remission. And she was like, I knew this was like, I just knew it. Like, this is like, I'm not ready. It's not my time. Like, my body and I reunited. We figured it out together. And I'm just moving forward now. And it's like, that shouldn't have happened. She honestly, like, should have been suffering with cancer longer according to the doctors, right? But this mind body connection is wild. And fully believe that, like, her positivity and the way that she was looking at the situation, her body felt that. And her body, like, really kind of aligned with her mind a little bit, which sounds very woo woo and crazy. But there is like a lot of, I think there's a lot of science that actually proves that. And so, just as you were talking, that really reminded me of my aunt, and I think I often think about my aunt whenever I'm, like, getting down on myself. I'm like, "Hey, my Aunt Chris, if she could do that, I can do this. Like, I got this." Yeah, I bet. Mm, yeah, 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 truly. And, it is challenging to get to that point. Not because of, like, anything's wrong with anyone, right? Like, I think what's so important to realize is that our brain has what's called a negativity bias. It's actually a survival mechanism that really came from, like, when we were cavemen, right? So if, like, you think about a caveman, they need to be scanning constantly for any danger because they had to survive, right? They were in the, like, not modern world, and so they really had to they did not. They had to, like, truly, like, constantly be aware of what was going on, be evaluating things, and in order to survive, they had to view the outside world as scary, as negative, right? And the thing about our brain, while it has evolved so much, we actually still have that negativity bias wired within us. So we naturally look at the negative things first. It's literally a survival mechanism that we've carried through evolution. That's not to say that we can't train that out. We just have to be very intentional with it. We have to catch the negativity in the moment and be like, oh, this is sense. You know what I tell my coaching clients to say sometimes, like, oh, that's the caveman talking, like, or the cave woman talking, like, that's cave Emily. She's not fully here yet. Like, she's still stuck in the old ways. Like, we're gonna show new Emily what it's like to do this, right? So there's a little ways to, like, kind of have fun with it, catch yourself in the moment, but then reframe that negativity to do exactly what you're saying, right? To look at the strength, look at the growth, look at the turning the tough moments into lessons, right? Into action and figuring out how to do that. It's much easier once you've actually named the negativity, called it out, called yourself for being negative, and then you're like, okay, I can let that go. I've named it. I get it. Yes, that my brain is focused on that, but what else can I be focused on? Right. And kind of like getting honest with yourself and taking that pause. slowing down just a little bit, slow down to speed up. That's like one of my favorite phrases. It's by this productivity, like amazing productivity thinker, Cal Newport. He wrote this book called Slow Productivity. That's fascinating. I love that book. And it's really aligned with my view of productivity and how we ultimately just need to slow down to speed up, right? And this is one perfect example of that. Catching that negativity in the moment, reframing it into reality. Mhm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. I love that. That's a great analogy. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think it goes with everything, honestly, right? And, I think that honest it requires a little bit of honesty, doesn't it? Because that it's easy, I think, to get caught up in the moment of what you wish was there, what you want to be there, or what's missing or lacking now, right? And honestly, that's again the negativity bias really overtaking. And so, in those moments when you find yourself like struggling to do that, just take a deep breath, right? Kind of shake it off. Use that mind body connection to your advantage. And then really just get reflective and get honest with yourself. It's tough to do. I fully admit that. There's been many months of my life where I don't want to get honest with myself because I don't want to hear the truth. But those are the moments that I also slowed myself down. I missed opportunities. I could have been moving farther, faster, but I wasn't because I was so focused on what was lacking instead of what was there, right? So, I just wanted to make that little call out. Yeah. Mhm. No. Absolutely. Look at you with all of the one-liners today. Oh, I'm loving it. You're on fire. Dang. I might steal that too. I love that. And I'm just like kind of sitting here reflecting on that. I feel like there are also just so many ways to use that to your advantage, right? Like it could be $1 billion, but like it could be almost anything that you are lacking, right? Like whatever it is that you feel like, whether it's money or experience or clientele or habits or really whatever it is that you feel like you're lacking, I feel like you could easily ask yourself that question and then kind of snap yourself out of it a little bit and be like, you know what? Maybe I don't need that to move forward. Right? And so it gets yourself thinking a little bit. Oh, I really like that. I'm like just wondering how I could use that in coaching calls now. Oh, I definitely always encourage a gratitude practice. I have one myself. I am religious about it. And even if it's just, I love starting our coaching calls like, hey, let's talk about one thing that happened this week that you're grateful for. Or like ending our coaching calls with like, what was one thing like during this call that you're grateful you learned or had your eyes open to or whatever it might be. And just kind of like asking those questions to really get them to be thinking about it a little bit more. And then eventually working with them on creating the habit of having an actual gratitude practice, whatever that looks like for the individual, because it should be different for everybody. It should be feeling personalized, right, to everybody. So I love that you brought that up because I think it's foundational to honestly everything, but especially to getting out of the rock bottom. Ooh, okay. Oh, there's been so many things I am grateful to have learned. But if I had to narrow it down to just one, I think I am most grateful that I this is gonna be kinda funny, but that I learned that I can learn, that I can adapt, that I can grow, that I can change trajectories, that I can trust myself to try something new and figure it out, and do the research, get the certifications, whatever it looks like. Like, if I wanted to go for something, I'm allowed to, and I can learn how to do it. I think that for me, especially as an entrepreneur, has been one of the most foundational changes and what really allowed me to experiment and to figure out that no, I do want to be a coach. I do want to do corporate workshops and public speaking. Like, I really do want to get this message out there. And without learning and adapting and figuring things out on the fly a lot of the time, that would never happen, right? And so I think for me, the biggest thing that I'm grateful for is that I honestly had the balls to try and that I've been learning as I go and it's been working out, right? And like that trust in myself that I've gained. So I guess ultimately, if I had to boil it down to one word, I'm grateful for the trust that I built with myself. Thank you. Please. Oh, that's a great question. I would love my legacy to be that I have helped people and I've built a pathway forward to helping even more people to really escape the hustle culture and actually enjoy working and enjoy the life they have outside of work, have the energy for, the time for, the capacity for. Because if we look around, especially here in America, if we look around, everybody is hustling constantly. I mean, we even have words like the grind, the hustle culture, my side hustle, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like all of these things that really that really just kind of build this notion that if we're not constantly going and doing and grinding and trying, then we're failing. But that's actually not how our body and our brain is wired. We're actually digging our own graves by forcing ourselves to hustle so hard. And I think that we're seeing that in the highest rates of burnout ever, the highest rates of hospitalization from burnout ever, the highest rates of anxiety ever, the highest rates of depression ever. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into these rates. But the factor that arguably is one of the biggest because you work most of your life, look at your day. Most of your day, you're at work, right? Work is most of your life. And so if you don't know how to do it in a way that supports you, that supports your life, not just your work, that supports your family, all of the things, you will end up on your deathbed with a lot of regrets, right? And if you've ever read any books or heard of anyone talking about people that they interview on their deathbeds, they always say, like, I wish I didn't work so much. I wish I enjoyed my life. I wish I had more energy for my family. I wish I had more time for the people I love, for my relationships. But that's not what we're seeing in practice in life. And so my legacy, I really hope I enable people to kind of see the light, to see that work is not the only thing we were born to do. But let's learn how to be more productive, systematic with our work so that way we can have the time and the energy with our life. So that was a very long-winded answer, but that ultimately is what I hope my legacy to be. Yeah, yeah, literally. Your zone of genius. Yeah, amen. Yes, of course. You can find me at theproductivityflow.com. I have a one-on-one coaching program that is 5 months long, and it's weekly Zoom sessions with a little bit of activities for you to do in between to really push yourself 1% every single day. And I also have a free Facebook community where I actually go live every single Thursday, so that way you can get some free coaching because ultimately my whole mission is really just to empower as many people as I can, right? So definitely join that free Facebook community. It's up on my website. You can easily access it there. I also have a blog with a bunch of free resources. So I create checklists and guides and all the things that really support and enable productivity, but with a mindful twist, right? Because you know what I'm all about after this conversation today. So yeah, that's where you can find me. You can also find me on all social media at the Productivity Flow. Yes, just to kind of reiterate, take it 1% at a time, right? Like, I know that we definitely want to push ourselves. Push yourself, of course, not to the point of exhaustion. Don't over hustle because that goes against our brain, it goes against our body, but definitely push a little bit. If you can do 1% growth each and every day, you're going to hit 100% way faster than you think. And if you want some support in doing that, you know where to find me. Oh, good. Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.